Teach me something.
You want to learn some stuff? Stick around.
Grant, teach me something.
What's up, everybody? I promise I'm not an idiot. No, I don't promise that. That would be a false
But
promise.
you know what, though? Currently, right now, anybody that's about to join in live or live now won't have seen that. It's only the replay people.
Right, it's all the replay.
know.
Actually, I thought about that the other day. Like, the intro only gets seen by the replay people. Anyway, okay, so here's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to do deal analysis. So here's the thing is that we're really harping on the creative strategies of everything in this because we want people to understand that there's more available to you out there, right? So many people, when you're getting in, wholesaling is the thing, right? It's like, I'm going to be a wholesaler because that's what you hear and that's what makes you feel like it's a little bit more exotic than what's on HGTV.
And accessible as well.
And accessible and that kind of thing. But there's so much more available to you. I say it all the time. I didn't put a single dollar out of my back pocket into real estate until I had already done 60 deals.
I think also it's one thing to think about, and it's a struggle I have with overall programming and of here on Propelio TV is doing content that people want to see.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, well, what we want to see is like the more advanced stuff like you and Daniel did, or Thomas, how'd you just put it?
Grant and the boss.
Grant and the boss. Grant and the boss on Monday, which is a highly advanced strategy.
Right.
And I would say 85% of the stuff that we've talked about on the Grant Teach You Something has always been like, yeah, you probably need to be in this business 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, and that's kind of that is the so I'm glad you bring that is a perception, but that's not the truth, right? And that's kind of why we're trying to push you here is because my very first deal that I did, I take that back. My very second deal, my first deal was I've come to learn is house hacking. You buy a duplex, rent in half, live in half. But every deal I did past that was subject to and wraparound, right? You can do this right from the start. So like you said, guys, I know that like wholesaling is popular. Everybody wants to know how to be a wholesaler. Well, guess what? Everybody wants to know how to be a wholesaler. So you're going out there and you're swimming in the biggest pond possible against all the competition, against guys that have no freaking idea what they're doing. So they're going to make offers that are stupid, but they're better than yours, right? So what's the seller going to do? Are they going to accept an offer that's for $10,000 more? They don't give a crap if you're not going to make money on that deal. They don't give a crap that the person who made that offer has no idea what they're doing. What they care about is the number on the dollar, or the dollar on the bottom line. So we need to have ways, especially as this market is shifting, especially as we're getting into a correction, which again, every time I bring this up nowadays, I'm trying to be very clear. I'm not a sky is falling kind of guy. It's not the end of the world that the market is going to shift. That is okay. I've got too many people coming up to me with big wide eyes like, oh, did you hear that the market is going to shift?
Well, we learned yesterday with Jason Bible, shout out to yesterday's show, that what did you call it? The Texel panhandle triangle, the Texel triangle, basically Dallas, Denton to San Antonio to Houston is going to have like 10 million more people in the next 10 years or something. It was, I don't know the numbers, you have to watch yesterday, but it was so stupid that, but not the topic, but the numbers that if you just think about it in a perception wise, or if you just think about it, you're like, even if the market crashes, appreciation is still going to come.
Right.
Because of demand.
Right. Totally. So we want, all we want is for people to have their minds expanded, some possibilities of what are some other ways that I can make really good money in real estate. And when you get into creative strategies, today is not going to be a specific like, hey, this is sub 2, this is wraparound, this is blah, 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 blah. What I want to teach you today is how to analyze a deal not looking at it like a wholesaler would. How do you analyze a deal in a way that says, look, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to make money. I don't have to buy every deal at 75 cents. You know, you hear Daniel say it often enough of like, I'll buy houses at 200% of what they're worth. I mean, you know, whatever.
Right.
It all depends on the terms. It all depends on...
And I think I'll rebuttal you on the, don't analyze deals as a wholesaler. And I would not rebuttal, but I would add to it, you need to analyze deals as a real estate investor.
Yes.
Not a wholesaler, not a fix and flipper, not a landlord, not a subtour.
Right, exactly.
Just as a real estate investor, and make sure real estate investor is this all-encompassing idea and not just a singular strategy.
Exactly. So
there's your nugget, Tom. No, I'm just kidding.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how do you analyze deals that are a little bit outside of the box. because this can open up, the deal analysis I'm going to show you today is called backing into the deal, and it's essentially why we use the 75% of ARV minus repairs. It's that same thought process, but we're going to apply that also to the payment, because this is how you look at your different profit centers. In all of your deals, you essentially boil down to 3 different profit centers. You've got cash flow, you've got equity, and you've got cash up front, okay? Those are the 3 profit centers that you're going to have basically in any deal. So as a wholesaler, you're accepting one of your 3 possible.
Because I know that's important. Can you list that out and then we put it on the screen?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that sounds super basic, but I want people to be able to like screenshot it and be like, boom.
So we've got 3 profit centers. Okay? You've got 1, cash up front. Stop giggling at my handwriting. You've got 2, you've got cash flow. And you've got 3, you've got equity. Okay?
And then obviously on these, they could be, treed out, bullet pointed out.
Yeah, right?
and all
So
that
like
kind of
equity might be something that's like, okay, well today my equity is X, but after appreciation of a few years, it's going to be Y, that kind of thing. But we've got these 3 core profit centers. And this is one of the big reasons why. And I don't want anybody to get confused. I don't hate wholesaling. I do wholesaling. Wholesaling is a great way to make money. It really is. It's a great high-paying job. But you have 1 cash center or profit center from that. You are accepting cash up front, and you are ignoring cash flow, and you are ignoring equity, right?
And there's tons of people that have like they have a large portfolio, and then all of a sudden a tornado comes, or all of a sudden all their ACs go out in one swoop. Guess what they're going to do the next month or 2? Wholesale a crap load of properties to build up that piggy bank so they could replace all their AC units.
Right. Yes. And yes. Yeah. And that's one of the challenges that you have to face, like in the rental realm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about backing into the deal. When we start buying houses, and we know, like, kind of traditionally, that when we buy a house at 75% or whatever, what we've essentially done is we've said, look, I can sell my house for 100% of its value, which if it's a $100,000 house is what I'm going to use, because hey, it makes percentages easy and I'm not great at math. So we're going to say it's going to sell for $100,000. Then we back out the expenses that are going to go into that deal. And then we're left with what we can buy that house for, right? You're backing out your expenses and you're backing out your profit. So if we look, a very basic way of describing backing into the deal is this formula right here. We are going to do sale price, okay? Pros.
Just own
Sale price minus expenses minus profit, and I'm going to just put desired profit, and that is what gives you your acquisition. Okay?
And
Pretty simple.
This is looking from a flip standpoint?
This is a general. This is just a general rule.
Okay.
So this is kind of why I'm phrasing it this way and teaching it in this way, is because I want to give you guys another look. It's kind of like when we talk about doing lean positions, right? And I'm like, guys, bear with me. This isn't going to be the most sexy, thrilling, like, oh, lean position. Oh, great.
I don't know about you, but damn.
I love me some lean positions. But in order to really squeeze profits out of deals, you have to understand how these lean positions work, right, on certain deals. Similarly here, it's easy enough to say I buy houses at 75 cents, but if you understand the why behind that, you get to apply that why to other deals and other principles, and that's what unlocks more money for you. Right? Mm-hmm. So I'm very specifically saying sale price minus expenses minus profit equals your acquisitions price. I'm going to rephrase that a little bit, okay, now that we've kind of got that core of knowledge there. And we're going to color code this a little bit, and I'm going to say money in minus money out. Oops.
I don't know about you, Thomas, but color coding, woo, gets me going.
Minus desired, and this is kind of an expense, cash flow, so I'm putting it in, now I'm just throwing things around. And that's what leaves you with your ultimate acquisition price. Okay, so how do we apply this? How do we apply this formula, and guys, like he said, if you want to screenshot that, to hang on to it, screenshot it to hang on to it. This is a good principle. And also, tag some people, share this, comment on this post. Let's help expand people's ability to analyze deals, because day in and day out, the reason why I get the deals I get, honestly, is because a lot of people don't know how to analyze a deal.
And one thing, this is just because you just brought it up. One thing I just want to address to both Facebook, to YouTube, to everybody that's watching live, and even on the replays. The whole point of having the show like this, structured where there's a computer out here and I'm always over here looking at comments, is if there are questions, if there are things that need to go into more detail. I try to be kind of the simpleton up here to where, I'm like just before, hey, spell that out real quick.
Right.
Just so we could slow it down when it needs to be slowed down, but sometimes I forget to slow down. So the reason we do these live shows and not necessarily a pre-recorded and just blast it out is so we can have that engagement. So I don't know how most YouTube live videos work, but on ours, we love the commentary, we love the engagement, and on Facebook, same thing. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you just want to, talk about how sexy leans are like Brady is on YouTube, go for it.
Sexy leans are.
Yeah,
that's
he said
awesome.
leans are sexy when you're the holder.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I actually think I got this phrase from him, which is not. I don't think. He didn't invent it, but I like the phrase of lean lord instead of landlord. I like that. Okay, so again, we want to help this community as a whole. You guys know people that we don't know. Bring them in. Help them understand another way of analyzing this deal. So what we've done is, if you look at like a typical, the way that you're used to analyzing the deal, whereas I'm buying at a certain basis minus repairs, that's why that exists. The reason why we've said I'm willing to buy at 75 cents is that, look, we're going to, just for round numbers, we're going to spend 10% on fees. So like now we're walking away with 90%, and then that difference between the 75% and the 90% should be enough to cover your holding costs, your interest, and give you some profit, right?
Should we address what a typical like wholesale deal analysis is just for?
Yeah, let's.
Do you want me to do it just so it's like, oh, Ryan knows something too?
Let's do that. Do it. You do that, and then I will write it down and apply it into.
He doesn't
this.
want me to touch his iPad. Okay.
Oh, do you want to write
I
it?
want to do it.
Okay, yeah. Here you go. Your
people
handwriting's
to-
better than mine anyway.
I want people dropping it.
Yeah, drop it.
So okay, a typical
chaotic
for
neutral.
me, and it's been a minute since I've done this, but a typical wholesale deal is, you've got the ARV, and then you've got that 75% minus repairs, right? Mm-hmm. Shit, I'm doing what you do. Own it. Repair errors.
On the right-hand side, there's a back button and an eraser.
I don't care. So that's typically, your wholesale world. But this number here changes on what market you're in, because 5 years ago, that was 65%. I'm sure 10 years ago, that was probably 60 or below. But if you're a wholesaler, you can't be buying at that number, right?
Right.
So, like, where I learned to do the wholesaling thing was from Jason Riney, which was you start at that 75 minus repairs, but then you go, okay, how much assignment fee do I want? So say this is 100,000 ARV, and it's, we'll say 20 in repairs, so 75%, which is 75K, minus the 20 is 55K, right?
Right.
Well, if I want to make 10,000 on the assignment, whatever, I got to make an offer at 45, right?
Right.
Is that?
It is. I just love your drawing.
Oh God, I'm just now seeing it for the first time. Anyway, so that's a typical wholesale deal, and if you want to make it prettier, but I just think it's good to have what people think about.
Absolutely.
Because the way I always learn it is you back into it. You're like, okay, I've got what the market, what a flipper will buy it at, and then I need to back in my assignment fee.
Exactly.
If I want to make 5, I want to make 10, I want to make 20.
Right.
So you think about percentages from the flipper standpoint, but then you think about, okay, let's just think about cash point. What do I want to make?
Absolutely. And so what you're drawing out for us right there is, we're basically starting at so the steps 1 through 5 have been taken care of for us through tradition. Steps 1 through 5 are we need to back out our closing costs, we need to back out the fact that we're paying interest, we need to back out our profits and that kind of stuff.
And a lot of that is based off of that percentage, that 25%.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we look at this deal, and this is why I'm saying money in versus money out, and I'd like for you guys to really try to train yourselves into thinking in those terms, because I do personal mentoring, right? So I've got like these one-on-one relationships where I'm training people, and this seems to be a tripping point for a lot of folks, and I think that that's one of the things for us to realize is the pros. This is not what trips us up. We're not tripped up by thinking about, hey, we've got buckets of money and that money is going to go someplace. That money is coming in and then that money has to get spent. And that money's getting spent on our cash flow, on our profits, or on our expenses or whatever. So retrain your brain. If this is difficult for you to think of it in those terms, try to really be thinking of it like that.
And in terms of that, what's interesting is like you're always going to have there's always going to be some problem in this business of, oh, I don't have enough money. But guess what happens when you have too much money? You need to be able to place that money. So if you have, case in point, $4 billion you want to place, what's the problem? Having money or having what do you call it? A product, placement?
Capital placement.
A capital placement for that money. So there's always problems. It's just a matter of which side of the fence you're on.
Sure, yeah. It's a nice...
That was a subtle shout out to Troy Fulton.
Okay, so let's get back into this. So we've got, I think we've kind of explained the wholesaler's mentality. I've kind of given you the idea of what's going on that side. Now let's look at it from a creative standpoint. Let's look at it, how is this going to make you money? When you're looking at a deal, how do you decide if there's thin margins, if that's a deal that's worth doing for you? Right? So that is going to be when we start looking at the cash flow. Because what most people are doing is they're only looking at the cash now profit center. They're only looking at profit center number 1. Or they may only be looking at profit center number 3, but that's rarer for that to be the case. But we want to have a balanced view of what this deal looks like. So let's say, for instance, that we're faced with a property that we need to acquire for 85 cents on the dollar, okay? Which means it's more than, because like even in the hottest of markets, 82% is kind of the highest it's going to go. And when we start talking about percentages, I'm going to explain what I mean by when I say 82%. What does that mean?
82% minus repairs?
Right, 82% of the ARV, the after repair value, right? So what would it be worth once it's fixed up? We're going to take 82% of that, and then we're going to back out the repairs, and that's what we can buy it for.
Right.
Okay.
And usually, and again, it's been a minute, but 82% is usually for a landlord that's going to be holding it. Yeah, because a flipper, 82%, that's pretty damn tight.
Right. Yeah, you have zero room to make any kind of error at all.
That's somebody that's buying on volume.
Right.
Or a landlord.
Yeah. So when we have a deal that is being approached and maybe they owe more or they need more, it's not even that they owe more, it's just that their foot is down, right? How many times do you make an offer that's just not high enough for them to want to move? We need to start looking at how can we cash flow this property. I have deals that I literally have zero equity in, okay, literally, but I'm making $700 a month on them. These are deals that most of the people in this audience would pass up on. Most of the people in the real estate investing community would pass up on, but because we were able to look at it more holistically.
The creative side, yeah.
On the creative side, it's like, look, I don't care that I don't have equity in this deal. I'm not equity negative. I'm not underwater on it.
Well, Daniel did a case study, I don't know, probably a year ago. It's on one of these videos where literally it was a short sale, but the banks had it, in limbo for years on years, and it literally had negative equity, and it was at any given point was just like, okay, take your house back, but made over $100,000 on this property.
That's awesome.
Because of the limbo, because of the bureaucracy and whatnot.
And my numbers aren't that big, but I do have probably 4 properties that I'm underwater on equity-wise. I'm $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 underwater, but I'm making $300, $400, $500 on it a month. And there's some risks to that, and you need to be very aware of that. But that's a conversation for another day. We'll talk about that another time. So let's look at our situation here, okay? So I'm going to first draw out just kind of a situation that we're faced with. We are faced with a property whose ARV is $100,000, okay? And the seller will not accept less than I'm going to put acquisition price. The seller will not accept less than $85,000. Now, for the sake of simplicity, for the sake of what we're doing today, I'm acting like there's 0 repairs that need to be done on this property. I'm acting like there's not even an underlying mortgage necessarily.
And you're acting like you don't even have to clean it.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, and we don't even have to clean it. And I say that I'm acting like there's no underlying mortgage. I'm going to change that. I am going to act like there's an underlying mortgage, and we're just buying it for what they owe. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that will probably be our simplest way of doing this. So I'm going to say that this $85,000 is going to be at a bank at 4.5%. And it's got 28 more years on it. So how many months is that? 28 times 12.
10B2.
336. So we've got 336 months left on it. So if we look at this, we've got an ARV of 100. We need to acquire it for 85. And this person's payment now is where payments really matter, because we're going to look at cash flow. It's 85,000 at 4.5%. So we're going to do 85,000 at 4.5%, which is already in for 336 months, which means, 85,000. Which means that we have a PI payment of $445 a month. Now, PI stands for principal and interest. If you guys want to learn about this calculator, which you should, you need to go to propelio.com/academy, sign up for the Propelio Academy, and click on my Sub 2 wraparound course. One of the very first videos that's on there, I think it's number 3 or 4, is a full course on this 10B2. Hands down, I get the most feedback from that video about the calculator, because people are just like, holy crap, I had no idea how much money was being left on the table. And it's so simple. It's so simple to understand how much money you could be making. So go right now, or not right now, go after this video to propelio.com/academy, sign up, watch that video.
And real quick, just to slow it down real quick, not in a mean way, but just is what it is way. For Aaron, after repaired value is simply like the market value of the house when it's ready to be bought, sold, moved in. Think of a brand new home that's ready to be moved in immediately. So when you take a fix and flip, or you take a house that's like distressed, you have the distressed value, or you have the distressed house, the value of it then, and then if you painted it, you fixed it, you did all the sexy things to it, and then you made it shine into this, the cocoon, the butterfly. It's the butterfly version of that. So I don't know, I'm probably making it more confusing.
It's a peacock, and you need to let it fly.
Yeah, you just let it fly. But after repaired value simply means
after it's repaired. What is its value going to be?
Man, you don't have to be it like that.
I mean, that's like
that's like, dude, you're an idiot. That's what you
not
just
what
said.
I'm saying at all. I'm just
you're
trying
such
to
a mean
connect
head.
the dots.
Is that why you lost all your hair? Because you're so mean,
It is.
so evil.
My hair was like, I'm done with this guy.
After repaired value is
Golden
simply
nugget. What an ass.
It's simply the value of the house when it's ready to be moved in, like a normal market value house. Because yes, there's some houses that can be moved in that shouldn't be moved into.
Right, totally.
But anyway, hopefully that clarifies.
Okay, so here's our situation. We got a house that's worth 100, and its acquisition price is 85,000. So what we need to know is okay, what does this house rent for? Okay, what does it rent for? So when we're doing creative strategy, and especially with seller financing, we sit in this wonderful middle ground where we have one side of the circle that is for the retail sale, which is selling it on the open market. You get a realtor, you put it on the MLS, you sell it. That's what we refer to as realtor, or as retail. And then we've got this whole other strategy over here, which is rental. Okay? Now, when we are doing creative strategies, our world, our money lives right here. We are right in between the two. We have to figure out what would it sell for and what would it rent for. Okay? So this is where we need to be. So when we look at this situation again, we say we've got an ARV of 100, we've got an acquisition cost of 85,000, which means that we're paying $445 a month for it. So now we know part of the equation. We know, it would sell for 100, but we also need to know what would it rent for, okay? Now, we typically, what am I doing? I'm writing ARV again. We typically, for the kind of greatest situation of ourself, we want these things to rent for 1% of the ARV. That's kind of the
1% rule.
The 1% rule. That's, and it's harder to get that these days, but I'm just going to say that we're renting for $1,000 a month. If you have a deal that rents for 1% of the ARV, you likely have a deal where you're going to be able to pull some money out in a creative strategy, in a creative fashion. So this is our scenario. We're going to take a break, give you guys some time to think about kind of what we're sitting at. I know it's not super complicated yet, but when we get back, I'm going to start building this into the model that shows you how do we compare our ARV to our rent rate and figure out how much money we stand to make on this deal together. All right, so stick around and we'll see you on the other side. All right, and we're back. So here we go. So we've got a situation here. We've got an ARV of 100. We've got rent rates of 1,000, and they owe 85. Most of the people watching this video would probably turn that deal down, but we're not going to turn that deal down. We're going to show you how that makes money.
So why would they turn it down, though?
Because it's at 85% acquisition. Oh. Right? That automatically knocks us out of where most people are. So what we're looking at here is we have a money in situation. This is our monthly money in. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put that as money in. We've got $1,000 a month coming in. Now, what I'll put that in here. So that is money in, and this is going to be our rent rate. Part of the reason why I'm using rent rate here, even knowing that I do like owner financing wraparounds and that kind of stuff, is that even in an owner finance situation, when you do a wraparound mortgage, the PITI payment, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, all added together, should be equivalent to what that house would rent for. This is what I'm talking about when I talk about we live in this wonderful world that's right in between rent rates and retail, especially like if we are talking wraparound mortgages, because we have to sell it, right? We're selling it for a sales price. So we get the ARV, we figure out what the house is worth, and we know somebody's going to be able or be willing to put that amount on a contract. Well, similarly, we have been shown by the market what is somebody willing to pay on a monthly basis to live in this property, and that's our rent rate. So now we're going to use that as kind of our ARV for the payment, and so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you just take the. I mean, if you wanted, I'm guessing you're going to get here because we talked about the 1% rule. If I know I can get $1,000 for rent, well, then the house is probably worth about $100,000. Is that kind of where you're going?
No, so that is true. That is true. But no, what I'm saying is that we've got to run our comparables. And guys, if you don't have MLS access, Propelio.com is where you need to go. I actually let my MLS access lapse this year unintentionally without even realizing it until somebody was like, hey, what's, one of my people that works with me was trying to log into my MLS. And they were like, which I probably shouldn't say. And then they were
I was gonna say, I was about to chime in, but I was like,
in my office. It's in my office. They were going back. Anyway, hypothetically speaking, if that were to have happened, they couldn't get in. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I haven't used MLS in like a year and a half because Propelio system is just so superior for getting in there and running comps. So you have to comp your property both in payment and in sales price to get this stuff done. So we've comped our property in payment as $1,000 a month. That is our rent rate coming in, which would be what I would charge PITI payment. Now we need to back out our expenses. And so now we're kind of in a situation where we've got to figure out what are our expenses. What are the things that we know are expenses so that we can back that out and know what our potential profits might be. Well, in this case, we've got one big, there we go. It's like, I can't remember how to get there. We've got one big expense that we know, which is our $445 a month, right?
That's the loan payment.
That's the loan payment. So we're going to come over here and we're going to back that out. $445. Girl, you look good when you back that out.
I know. I thought that's where you're going to go with that. That's so stupid.
So, because I'm not good at math, what is that? 555 left over?
555.
So once we back out our underlying lien payment, okay, that's the mortgage that we're taking over on, we are now left with $555 to play with, okay? Now, That's not the only expense. What is another expense that we cannot avoid?
Taxes.
Taxes, right? So we need to back that out as well. So I'm going to just say that taxes on a $100,000 house, let's say is $125 a month. It's kind of low, but whatever. So that we've got taxes there. Mm-hmm. What else? What's another unavoidable expense?
Because we obviously prepare for this so much, and I know you're going with this, I was going to say vacancies and then also the miscellaneous expenses.
Actually, no, I'm not counting that one in this.
I figured you weren't, but I was going to throw it out there anyway.
Because that's something...
Because you should.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no, right? So that does have its place. When we're doing a deal analysis like this, what I'm looking for is basically once the property is loaded, right? What is the potential profit that we have, okay? Because like if we have vacancies and stuff like that, if we were looking at rents, yes, those vacancies have to play into that. But we want to know what our potential is and then accept if that potential is okay with our like overall needs and stuff. But what do we, so think about our payment.
The underlining lien payment, you've got the taxes.
We've got PIT.
You have interest.
Insurance.
I mean insurance. Thank
insurance,
you.
Yeah.
That's
so
what
I'm just going to, for easy numbers, say there's another $125 in insurance. Okay. So that knocks off $300. Right? No, that knocks off $250. I'm an idiot. So $250 from $555 would be $305, right? I'm very publicly getting math wrong. 555
Let's say yes.
minus 250, 305. Guys, so I
have to use the most advanced calculator known to man to do simple math.
Hey man, it's a skill that you lose, right? I don't do math in my head anymore because...
Matt Smith, capital expenditures, like any improvements?
Yes, right? So I'm not counting that right here, right? So bear with me because we're not getting into that side of things. We need to know what our because capital expenditures are a fluctuating cost for the most part. Now, when you're doing rentals, we'll talk about that here in just a second. But that's
I actually said it first, Matt. You just said it better.
Yeah. We can't forget to give Ryan credit, guys.
I need my ego boost at some point today.
Yeah, there was one too many times that I tried to do math in my head and I was like, super confident about it, and then like come to find out a day later I was wrong. So I don't even like try to do math in my head anymore.
So we got the PITI, or have we yet?
Yes. I'm just gonna stop trying to say things.
I'm just trying to get it back on track.
I know. Okay, so we've got $305 coming in as our like possible net here. Now that 305, what does that represent?
It should be cash flow. It's your pocket change. It's your mailbox money.
Yeah, that's what that should be. And this is where strategy matters so much because now we know what our potential, like best case is, that 305 is there for us, right? That's our potential cash flow on this deal.
Well, I was just going to say, and one thing, if you don't have rentals or if you're new to this business, because I know there is a couple people here watching for the first time, thank you so much for joining us. Most people think when they're a landlord or those landlords, they're making so much money. Oh, they've charged $1,000 a month. They're making $1,000. Are they?
Right. They're really not. And so who watching is a landlord, okay? And I want to know, if we've got guys watching, girls watching that are heavy into the landlording space, what do you calculate for your capital expenditures on an annual basis? I'd like for you guys to comment that. Because guess what? I'm not a big landlord. I got 2 rentals. I don't like rentals. They're good. They're in there. They have their spot. They have their place, right? Again, kind of like wholesaling. I know I'm talking down at wholesaling, but I'm really not. It's good. It has its place. I just want people to understand where these strategies fit in.
You gotta have your niche, though.
Well, you do. Yeah, you got to have your niche and stick to it and focus, but also understand why you're choosing that. So like in Arizona, we did this mastermind in Arizona. When's the next time we're going to be out in Arizona?
Yes.
Do we have a date? Okay. So we did a little mastermind in Arizona, and there was a guy in there that was getting started, and he was really wanting to get into wholesaling. And, I was kind of beating him up about the wholesaling while still trying to say this over and over again. Look, there's nothing wrong with wholesaling. If you want to choose to be a great wholesaler, go be a great wholesaler. But you should know why you're choosing to be a wholesaler and the reasons that, like the positives and the negatives of that, and then make your decision. If you know what you're passing up on the other side and still choose to be wholesaler as your primary niche, sweet. that is a great decision for you, right? If you know similarly what a wholesaler can do and you choose to go another route, sweet, that is a great decision. But always be open to understanding that the deal is going to tell you, like in this deal analysis, it's going to tell you how to best make money on it. And that's what we're figuring out here.
I do have two good comments on this. One is management fee, so that is a potential thing. Because if you have one or two rentals, you probably should just do it yourself. But once you start getting 10s and 20s and 50s and 100s, you probably need a manager or a property manager to take that care, because you're not going to want to field 100 renters.
Sure, right.
Another one was Tom Chin. After PITA, cash flow is only half the net. Tom, if you would, I would love to know where the other half is going.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. Can you repeat that?
He said after PITI, cash flow is only half of the net. So I think what he's saying is only 305. You're really only getting $150.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Where's the other $150 going?
Yeah. Okay, I see. Yeah. Okay, so this is why I have intentionally led us down this road with only using the expenses that I had, because this is our best case scenario cash flow, right? Now, what we've seen is a lot of people chiming in with what would happen if we were renting this house, right? This is one of the reasons why I want people to understand what they're truly signing up for when they sign up to have a rental property. That 305, that if you had owner financed this property out, would be your net cash flow, is now getting chopped up by more fees. That 305, that in a wraparound owner financed scenario would be your net, would be your I'm going to go buy groceries with this $305 this month, is now being appropriated to management fees and capital expenditures, right?
The AC went out.
AC went out. The couple got into a fight and slid the glass door and it broke, right?
The daughter dumped in, or the kids dropped all the paper in the toilet, and the toilet exploded, and the piping's broken, and all that stuff.
And then you've got stuff like, hey, it's a 1-year lease. What happens for that month? Let's look at that, just that alone, okay? So our PITI in this case is what, $695 a month. So let's say $700 a month, okay? 1 month of vacancy in that year means that you don't make money for 2 months of occupied property. More than 2 months. What I mean by that is, look, we've got a potential income of $305 a month. Okay? So if we are every month expecting to make $305, so we've got 12 months in a year. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can do this math in my head.
Count to 12?
I can count to 12. And so for each one of these, we're expecting to get $305 in on a rental, okay? And I'm ignoring management fees. I'm trying to help you guys out. I'm keeping it super basic here, okay? So if we do that way, now we have 1 month of vacancy, okay? And in that month, so that was all our money, our anticipated money in. In that month, we have to spend $700.
Which knocks out 2.
That knocks out, I don't make money here, I don't make money here, and I don't make money for part of here, right? Because we've got 100 and, whatever, 100 and, 200, or whatever, $100. This is embarrassing. Anyway, we've got some of this money knocked out. Okay, so in that, there we go. So then we're like, thank God, we finally get a tenant in there, right? And then I'm taking worst case scenarios here. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but our AC goes out, okay? Air conditioner might be $5,000 to replace. $5,000 to replace. Okay, well, how many times does $300 16? Okay, so guess what, guys? What happened to my profit? Sad, crying, everything's bad. So now you have to have a tenant in that property for that whole year, okay? And you still have, how many months was it? 16 months? So you've got 4 more months of the next tenant before you make any money. But guess what, guys? It's vacant for a month while you're trying to find your buyer. So we add another 2 months before. So then you're 6 months into your next tenant until you even start to maybe have a profit. Well, guess what? In that first 6 months, boyfriend, girlfriend get in a fight, they slide the sliding glass door too hard, breaks it, $1,000 out of the pocket. So add 3 more months to it. So now you're 9 months into your next. So you might make $300 3 times from your second tenant after 2 years on this situation, right?
But on the flip side, if just the doom and gloom side of the negatives, the positives are you're literally getting potentially getting a free house, because your tenants are paying for the mortgage.
Right.
Earlier in one of the YouTube, somebody was asking a question. I think Brady chimed in. Obviously, if it's a free and clear house, that $445 is mailbox money.
Right. Exactly.
And it's a completely different scenario. But we're talking about, because we don't like to spend money, we want to spend other people's money to get free shit, free houses. So in this situation, yes, a year and a half to go. Doom and gloom, a year and a half, but at the end of the day, it's still a free house.
Yeah, in some ways, right? In some ways.
So you really have to think in the macro long term versus the micro year and a half of crap.
So here's the thing. I have, in this last example, only been focusing, much in the same way as a wholesaler is only focusing on Profit Center 1, I am only focusing on Profit Center 2. Right? By all of this stuff, I'm ignoring Profit Center 3, which is the equity that we have in the deal, i.e. our net worth, right? So here's my position, and I'm just going to sum up my position on rentals like this. If you can afford to have that rental and not need to make money on it until it is paid off, that is when rentals are great. Okay? That's my position on rentals. If you do not need to make money on this property until it is paid off, that is when you should buy rentals.
Yeah, and you've been very clear about that for the past year and a half of doing these Grant Teach Me Somethings is, rentals are great if you already have money.
Right.
If you're just getting this business, you're not going to get rich off of having rentals. It's the rich people that place their capital, they place their money in rentals.
Exactly.
And then it, helps
Get rich,
out.
then get rentals.
Yeah.
Right? So, now we go back to our backing into the deal situation, right? Where that potential income of $305 a month was getting chopped away in the rental side, and we're only looking at cash flow. And again, if you can afford to sit there and not have to make money off of this deal until you've got it all paid off, sweet. Especially if we're taking over on this deal at 4.5%, you're getting great terms on the acquisition side, you're all good. But that $305, if you're doing owner financing, is your net income. Okay? That gross income is your net income on owner financing stuff. And that's what allows us to make these decisions. So let's kind of expand this situation out a little bit. One of my rules of thumb is that I want to be broken even in 18 months. It's called my 18-month rule, all right? So we're going to take another break, and when we get back, I'm going to start talking about the rules of thumb that kind of go into creative acquisitions that are looking at deal analysis in this way. And then we're going to start addressing more of your questions. So if you have questions on this, we will get to those. Please drop them in the comments, and we'll see you right after this.
And we'll get to the meat of this whole thing, right? Hey, welcome back, everybody, for this episode of Grant Teach Me Something. One thing I wanted to chime in, because we're talking about rules. We talked about the 1% rule. We're talking about rules of thumb. In real estate, all rules are broken, and it's always a case by case, and there's always those 2 magic words. What are those 2 magic words?
It depends.
It depends. So even though Grant is going into some rules of thumbs and some rules here, grain of salt, always go through that filter of it depends.
Right.
Back to you.
Absolutely. So rules of thumb are made as a rule of thumb because they are made to be broken. We have to always, everything is being cycled through this view of our 3 profit centers. That is the core of proper deal analysis, is properly viewing what does this deal do for my cash up front, what does this deal do for my net worth, and what does this deal do for my cash flow. Okay? Everything goes through that. So one of my rules of thumb that I mentioned was the 18-month rule. And what I mean by that is that if we do this deal and we acquire it for $85,000, and that means that we're going to owner finance it out and we're going to have a net cash flow of $300 a month, if, let's say when we bought it, they were $5,000 behind in payments, okay? So we acquired for 85 grand, and then we had to put $5,000 into it. Now I'm ignoring the $10,000 that you would get as a down payment. Again, I'm trying to make this as very simple as possible, but what I'm getting at is that at the point in time that we have the property loaded, we are what I call net negative of $5,000. We have $5,000 on the market that has not yet been reimbursed to us.
And when you say loaded, you mean occupied?
Occupied.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, occupied and income producing. So I'm going to say that we're in a situation that when we get it loaded, occupied, income producing, we still have $5,000 out on the market that we want to be reimbursed. Part of my deal analysis after I back into this deal like this and I see what my net income would be is I want my cash flow to get me back to zero within 18 months. So in this case, if we're making $305 a month times 18, that would be $5,400, $5,500.
Which is more than the 5,000.
Exactly. Oops, I just turned off my screen. Which is more than the 5,000. So, how you like that? I actually did some math in my head this time and got it almost right. I tried to choose a number.
In this particular deal, this would be an acceptable parameter deal.
I'm down with this deal.
You're ready to go
Yeah.
because it meets your personal rule of thumb of 18 months of getting your money back.
Exactly. So what this means, just to expand that out, is that I looked at a deal. I said, "Hey, this person owes $85,000. We got to catch them up with $5 grand. I'm gonna be underwater by $5,000 by the time I get into this deal." And actually, here, let me do it this way. Let me make that a little bit more realistic. We've got $5,000 we got to put in, and I've got to put in $10,000 to fix up the house because it does need some cleanup, right? So we've got $15,000 out on this deal, okay? Well, then we sell it for $100,000. We get $10,000 as a down payment, so that knocks out 10 of what we just paid, but now we're net negative by 5. So my question is, can I make that money back in the next year and a half? And the answer is yes. So what this does,
because we were talking about rentals, now you're going into the owner finance sub 2
yes,
world.
exactly. So I talked about rentals
Not
for a
sub 2,
moment.
but the owner finance
Exactly.
world.
Thank you for drawing that more clearly. I talked about rentals for a minute and saying, look, we've backed in, we've seen what our potential income is. You would obviously have to take out your capital expenditures and you would have to take out your management fees. And if you are okay with that answer, move forward with yes on the deal.
Yeah, and that's something that you could
Only you can
legacy,
decide.
give to your children, give
Right.
to your grandchildren, build this huge empire of rentals that you can give legacy to your whatever.
And spoiler alert, so on creativecashflow.com, this week will be up. My tech guy was actually sick last week. We were just talking to him. But on creativecashflow.com, I have a series. It's just a 2-part series called A Road to Retirement. And I will show you, if I were to ask you right now, and I'm gonna let this hang for a minute because we're on a delay and I want to get your input. How much money do you want to be able to turn over in bed and say, you know what, today I'm done. I'm not going to do work anymore. I'm just making the money I'm making passively. I'm good with that. What is that dollar amount to you? Please chime in. Please chime in the comments and tell me what that dollar amount is that you need to be making passively on a monthly basis. Not saying that you will retire, but that you can retire, okay? And how far away from today do you want that to happen?
All of them.
All of the dollars
All the money.
all of the money. All
I
right.
want all of the money.
Good.
All of the money.
So you guys chime in and tell me what your answer is. What is the dollar amount you want passively, and how long from now do you want that to happen? And Ryan, if you would let me know as some people answer that, and then I'll give you a spoiler alert on how that
Minimum
works.
15,000.
Okay. So 15,000. Didn't get a time frame.
Probably monthly.
Well, I mean, like, how long from now do you need to be
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So while you guys are chiming in on that, I'm going to switch back gears to this deal and saying, yes, I talked about rentals. I said, look, if you are good with that, do it, right? I'm not against any of these strategies. I know I come off like I am with wholesaling or rentals. I'm not. What I'm against is you getting into a strategy without knowing why. You need to know that you're, like, why did you choose to do this? What is the thing? I'm never okay. If anybody, my personal mentor students, especially my acquisitions team members, know for sure, I am not okay with you just saying, hey, let's do this deal. I'm going to say, okay, cool. Why? And if you can't give me a good answer, then we're not doing the deal. But I don't care if the deal looks like crap and you decide to do it as long as you have a why. If you're like, look, I'm not going to make my money back for 3 years, right? I said my rule of thumb was 18 months. I'm not going to make my money back for 3 years. And I'm going to say, but you're doing the deal, and you're going to say yes. I'm going to say, why? And you say, well, because I need to get a deal under my belt. Wrong. That's not a good answer. But if you say, well, I've got $40,000 worth of equity on this deal, and so I'm okay with not making money for 3 years, ding, ding, ding. That's cool. You have a reason to move forward with it, right? So do we have some people chiming in?
Yeah, there's been a lot of like numbers thrown, but the only one that has both a number and a time frame one was I want to amass $4 million to draw off of in 12 years.
Okay.
And the next one was Rick saying $5,000 in 6 months.
Cool.
So that sounds more like what we're going for. You want $5,000 monthly within 6 months.
So here's what typically gets answered. And I'll tell you so like what is and Thomas, you probably know this, what's the thing where just by being observed the particles change? You know what I'm talking about?
Schrodinger's cat?
Yeah.
He's right.
Yes.
Boom, y'all. Boom. Ryan knows stuff too.
Yeah, girl. Just by knowing that your answers are going to be viewed by everybody on Facebook is probably changing these answers. 99% of the time when somebody answers that in a one-on-one situation, it's $10,000 in 10 years. That's the 99.9% of the time everybody says they want $10,000 passive in 10 years. The spoiler alert, when we're talking about having a huge portfolio amassed to pass off to our children and all that kind of stuff, the spoiler alert that I teach you in the Road to Retirement is you have to buy a house a quarter for this next 10 years for that to work. 4 houses a year. And then in 5 years, in half of that time, you need to start mixing in a rental, I think every other quarter, maybe a quarter. And what you will end up with is about a $6 or $7 million portfolio. I can't remember what it is. You'll start having $10,000 a month in cash flow at that 10-year mark. And long story short, what you'll learn in that module as you go look, is that over time, because of how things work, you will actually move up to making $56,000 a month in passive income. And then it will start coming back down because all these owner financed deals get paid off to where you end up at like $25,000 or $26,000 a month.
But I think the key takeaway there is, well, yes, you could make a ton of money, but the key takeaway, what Grant just said was, a house a quarter.
A house a quarter.
So you're talking about like 4 deals a year.
Right.
And because I know here if you go to meetups, if you watch these shows, people are talking about like 10, 20 a month. You don't need
that.
House.
A house, a quarter. Being realistic, right? So you need 10 houses, 10 rentals to make that $26,000 a month after, $10,000 minimum kind of thing. And I show you a way to build that out. I give you a roadmap to that retirement. So that's something, you don't need this big, you don't have to listen to all of us guys, oh, we do 50 houses a year, blah, 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 blah. That's not needed. What's needed is the dollar amount. This is, and I'm sidetracking here and I'm going to finish up on this. And all I'm going to say is, if your goals for this year are how many houses you're going to do, rather than how much money you're going to make on it, your goals are wrong. We do not say, man, I can't wait to have 700 houses making me jack all every month. That's not our goal. Our goal is not to retire by the number. You can't buy groceries because you have a lot of houses. You can buy groceries because you have a lot of money.
And you can apply that the same thing as deals, because people like to, if you're talking about wholesaling, I've done 20 deals a month versus the guy that does a deal, but that deal is like a $10 million flip or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the same thing. Stop focusing on
Stop
the number.
focusing on volume and start focusing on quality.
On the money.
The money, because that's ultimately what we're looking
money.
for. So in this rule of thumb, when we back into that deal, we see that it makes sense for my money decision. My money decision is I want to be broken even in 18 months, but I can break that, right? It's a rule of thumb. I've got a lot of equity in it. My other profit center is speaking to me on this one, right?
And another caveat, which I hesitate to say, but because we always say you should never buy a house based on speculation. But if you know for a fact something is coming to an area and the risk is not that big of a risk, and I don't know if you're paying attention still.
I am.
But if you know for a fact something's about to happen where the appreciation of that property is about to jump up tenfold, maybe it's worth that risk.
How about you ask all the people who just bought properties in New York about that?
You know what that's what I'm saying is that's why I said there's a caveat, because there's plenty of people that
Amazon's
have
going to New York. Let's spec buy. We're going to buy a little bit too much over property and blah 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 blah, and then Amazon got pulled and they're screwed.
That's why I said you should never.
Right.
I prefaced
You did.
by saying you should never buy property based on speculation. You should based off of the numbers that are right now.
Right.
That being said, if it is, there's no guarantees in life, but
But
if you do have a guarantee.
so backing into the deal, the premise of this episode here is that this is your answer to like all of the creative acquisitions right here. This is it. So what we did is we looked at, okay, so I've got a house that has an underlying mortgage of 85 at certain terms, and we're making $1,000 a month. But the thing that's going to happen to you in your experience in your purchasing is going to be that you're going to run into a situation that might not look like this. It might look something more like this. It might look something more like, hey, we've got a house that's worth, and I'm going to say money in, worth 100, and they owe to the bank 50, but they are unwilling to sell it to me unless I sell it to them, or unless I buy it from them for $85,000. How do I go about paying them for this difference of $35,000? Backing into the deal is the answer on something like that. So I'm going to kind of blow, in the interest of time, I'm going to kind of blow through this answer, understanding that in the Propelio Academy, I will expand on this quite diligently. In the creativecashflow.com Academy, I'll expand on this quite diligently, and we're going to give you the opportunity to ask questions. But let me just show you the end result of how backing into the deal works like this. So let's say that on that 50, this 50 is at 4%, and it has 28 more years left on it. And so that means that the payment is now $261. Okay? So now we've got a payment of $261. So we're going to back into this deal using the same numbers that we used before. So we've got $1,000 money in, and this is going to I am going to now switch to owner financing, PITIN. Okay? We are going to back out what our known cost is of the $261 a month. Okay? So that means it's what, $740, $739? So now we've got a $739 number to play with, but we also have to back out taxes and insurance. So we're going to back out I'm going to say $239 to make my life easy. And now and this is going to be taxes plus insurance, and this is going to be PI on the underlying lien. So now what we're left with is $500. And this is what I like to call our play money. So with that $500, I know I have $500 to pay this person $35,000. So I've got a $35,000 principal balance I need to pay them. I need to give them $500 a month, or I can give them up to $500 a month. So my first step, if I'm backing into this deal, is I'm going to back out. I have a minimum requirement being in air quotes, of $150 a month in cash flow.
But it's a personal decision.
That's a personal decision, right? Absolutely, absolute personal. This is a scenario known. I can absolutely, if I work my numbers out and I don't have the room to make that 150, I'm not gonna make that 150, right? I might adjust that, or I might say no because I absolutely need that 150. But I'm just showing you how this process of backing into the deal works. So now we're at $350 a month in play money. This is what we have on a monthly basis to pay our seller this money right here. So I'm going to knock that out. I'm going to say $350. $350 is really what I would like to use. So now what I'm going to come over here to do is I'm going to say I need to pay my seller $35,000. And I have $350 a month to do that with. And I typically like to offer them 4.5% interest. So that would mean that I'm paying them off in 10 years, 10 and a half years, 125 months. So I'm actually going to round that up to 126. My payment to them is going to be $349 a month. So in 10 and a half years, I'm going to come back here. I'm going to say I'm going to pay them $350 a month or at 4.5% interest for 126 payments. And there we go. We solved our problem. We're taking over the 50. We're paying them another $35,000, $350 a month. So we're acquiring a house at 85% of the value, which is not an acquisition model that should work in the cash world because you need to buy at 75 or 82 max. So we just surpassed our max and made $150 a month in cash flow on it in a property that is non-recourse lending because it got into our LLC, right? And we were able to buy with zero money down. That is the end result of what you can do with knowing how to back into the deal, is that, again, just to look at this picture of a full case of a real, this is us backing into the deal, we backed out our principal and interest, we backed out our taxes and insurance, we backed out our desired cash flow, and then we were left with how we could acquire this property creatively.
And if you get good at that, you're able to go, you do this in the car, or you can do this right in front of them,
Yep.
under the nose, not under the nose, that sounds sketch. But just figure out, okay, and that's how you beat out your competition
Absolutely.
in acquiring houses.
Yep.
And just to summarize what he just did there is basically he took a house and bought it sub to or owner finance from them to you, created a wraparound mortgage to sell to somebody else, and then figured out how much he could pay the owner
seller
finance
for
off,
their equity.
the seller for their equity, and therefore basically you were able to repackage a deal to where you get paid and then you're out.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about the AC units. You don't have to worry about the foundation. You don't have to worry
Your
about the
net
kids.
income, your gross income is your net income
No.
with owner financing. Now, your income lasts for 30 years, so you do pepper in the rentals. But if you're in a mode of building and you want that cash flow, this is how you do it. And by the way, your equity position does grow over time. It does get better. People are like, oh, I don't want to do owner financing over rentals because I want appreciation. Well, there is an equivalent to appreciation in owner financing too, but that's a conversation for another day. Let's see if we've got any questions.
We do. I'm just trying to make them pretty for you, though.
Oh, we got pretty questions.
know.
So get your questions in now. We're going a little bit long. We'll spend 5 or 10 minutes on questions before wrapping up. While he's putting those together, I do want to let you guys know, creativecashflow.com, that is where I'm from. Creativecashflow.com exists to help you buy more houses. And what that means is that we're going to help you learn how to creatively structure deals. We're going to help you learn how to contract. We're going to help you learn how to negotiate. Anything that goes into buying more houses, we're going to help you do that. I do a live Q&A every Monday night at 7 p.m. Central, and we've got a whole video library of things to teach you how to do things. That price is going up. It was supposed to go up Friday. Apparently my tech guy and his whole family got knocked out, so we're running behind on putting the new module up. But when our new modules go up, which is happening like now, the pricing is going to change. Right now it's a $650 lifetime membership. That same equivalent membership, as soon as my tech guy gets this newest module put up, is going to switch to $897 just for the videos, $1297 just for 1 year of the live Q&A, or $1,500 for the bundle of the two. So if you are thinking about that, if you've been sitting on the fence, now is the time to move on it because you get a lifetime membership for only $650. Now is the time to do it.
And to be clear on that, everybody always asks Daniel or myself about mentorship. Just so everybody knows that we're not full of crap when we tell them this in the DMs. Like, we always Grant Kemp. That's who we refer. If you're ever asking Ryan Harper, Daniel Moore, or anybody associated with Propelio, hey, do you offer mentorship? The answer is Grant Kemp.
And because my relationship with Propelio started from me mentoring Daniel into creative strategy. Yeah. So that said, let us not forget that this doesn't exist. All of this helping you guys in the community, building out this, all of these answers exist because of this company right here, Propelio.com.
What?
And I said it before, and I mean it absolutely wholeheartedly. What they're doing here is an amazing thing. You've got a product that gives you your website so that you don't have to be at yahoo.com with your email. You can be at your own actual website and actually have a presentable professional website. You get actual real MLS comps, which in states like Texas that are non-disclosure, you can't get that unless you're a realtor or have a product like Propelio who has done the legwork to put this together and give you actual access to the MLS comps. So that is an amazing resource that you guys have in front of you, as well as all the leads. So if you need to buy houses, you need leads, you need a way to run the leads, and you need a way to look good to your leads, and you need a way to know what that lead is worth. Propelio gives you all of those things.
And real quick, I don't know, can we make that announcement about what y'all met about on Monday?
Sure.
So one thing that's talked about across all the shows here at Propelio TV is the importance of networking, relationships, JV partners, handshake agreements, reputation, whatever. We've said time and time again, Propelio is Propelio, creative cash flow is creative cash flow. There really is no monetary relationship between Grant, Kemp, Propelio. It's just we love each other.
Mm-hmm.
What's up, girl?
Yeah.
But anyway, so one thing that Grant is actually he's basically taken the lead role in the academy since day one, but now it's going to be more of a formal thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know formal, but just he's taken a much more larger role within the academy to make that sexier.
Right. So you're looking at
less buggy.
The dean of the Propelio Academy. We understand. We get it. It is beta right now. We understand there are bugs there. I have a large, strong tech team. Propelio has a large, strong tech team. I have a tech background, so I'm stepping in. We're starting the project on Friday, and we're gonna build this out. It's gonna be huge, and it's gonna be huge sooner than later. So, guys, really get in there, get involved right now. Start learning from the videos that are already out there right now, because we're about to be putting a lot of stuff in front of you. And if you sign up, you will be notified as soon as new lessons are gonna come out. And we want to know what you guys need to know. So give us the feedback. Help us know what's going on that you would like to see, and we'll put that in front of you.
And the nugget there is more than just, hey, free education. The nugget is the importance of relationship building. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's get to some questions.
So Tom Chin says, what's the difference between a subject to and a lease option? He says LO, but I'm assuming lease option, and that's not something else. Whenever you have,
I was
gonna try and be witty. Law officer is like where you see that like in the gun forums and stuff. Like they talk about like.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Anyway, so the difference is with subject to, you're taking title from day one. On a lease option, you don't get title until you exercise your option. On a rent to own, you don't get title until you have satisfied whatever the requirements are of you, right? So you're a tenant as the lease option buyer at that point in time. Subject to, you get title from day one. I'm a control freak. I think you should be a control freak too. Subject to is a great strategy for acquisitions. On dispositions, if lease options and rent-to-owns and contract for deeds are still available to you in your estate, those are great ways to do dispositions.
Kelly Smith, I love hearing Grant talk about being underwater on some of his properties. It's not often investors are so candid. Everyone talks about their wins only. Yeah, exactly. That's one thing that we try to stress as much as possible on Grant Teach Me Something and on all of our shows on Propelio TV is authenticity and being authentic and being real and giving you real numbers, real life experiences versus, this all day long. Because again, if you meet people on the streets that have never lost money on a deal, they're either lying to you or they're full of crap.
Well, and there is a third option, which I touted that I never lost money on a deal for many years, because I never lost money on a deal for many years, and then I stopped being able to tout that eventually. So it's going to happen to you. But yeah, absolutely. You need to be very aware of who you're listening to, and the realities of this business are not everything is always the biggest win ever. And the reality of this business is, so like, and I've got a lot of respect for what Corey and Pat are doing with their, anti-guru spiel and show me the HUDs and all that kind of stuff. I can show you lots of HUDs where it looks like somebody's made money, but they actually lost money. It's not until you even see the freaking P&L, the profit and loss statement, to actually know if somebody's made money on a deal. So take everything with a grain of salt, guys. When people are out here flashing their cash, flashing the checks, Tim Harridge came out on a comment post one time in a very brave way and saying making fun of these guys. He's like, guys, I can show you a check right now for $98,000 that I got from the title company. We lost $120 on the deal. You know what I mean? Don't pay attention to that crap. That crap does not matter. What matters is if somebody's trying to help you get where you need to go. And that's what Propelio and Creative Cash Flow are trying to do.
Be authentic. Mm-hmm. Be real.
Delonda Lewis, can this work when there's no mortgage on the property? I have a property that's $145,000, blah, 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 blah. I don't care about any of that. Here's what I'm going to show you. Come back to our photo. The reason why I just immediately tuned out, and I'm sorry, I don't mean that disrespectfully to you, is guys, remember when I said that
Thomas.
I didn't, because I'm supposed to be the one that's on the Apple TV. He's doing his job, not.
But Thomas didn't.
Okay, there we go.
It's all his fault.
All Thomas's fault. So here we go. Remember when I said that this is the principle behind all creative strategies? Right? I really want you guys to internalize this, because that question right there shows me that y'all haven't necessarily gotten to that point where you're internalizing what I'm trying to say here, and that's my fault. What I'm saying is, okay, so what if there's no underlying lien? Don't do this, right? Backing into the deal means you back out your expenses from your income, and what you're left with is what you can acquire with. This is why I'm trying to train you the principles of the thought process. And forgive me, I'm not trying to be too harsh on this, Delonda. I love that question because that is the most logical next question. But the answer is, that's why I'm teaching you how the formula works and not just saying, if I just ended up with this example, you wouldn't have any kind of foundation for how the formula works. But the formula is, did you screenshot this? The formula is money in versus money out minus money in minus money out minus desired cash flow equals your acquisition. Where in that money out does it say it has to be an underlying lien? Where in that money out does it say that it has to be a lien to your seller? Where in that money out does it say that it's not a tax lien that you're paying off? Where in that money out does it not say, you know what I mean? Whatever the money is that's coming in is your money that's coming in. Whatever the money is that needs to go out is the money that needs to go out. You are left with the money that you have to acquire that deal with this formula. That's why this formula is so simple but so powerful. All right? So if you want to take back over the Apple TV, we will hammer into some more questions there. Thank you, Delana. That was a great question. Christian, so in what case would it be better to be a landlord instead of owner financing? Do you want to answer that for me?
Well, on this one, what I will say is I'll just subtly plug, and I'll drop a link later, that we actually did a funny mock debate between Grant and Daniel about this. At the end of the day, it's you look at your own personal finances and look at the deal itself. What are your goals? Like if you would rather have $150 a month for several years, and then that goes up to $300 or whatever. Or do you want to have houses paid for as a rental? And only you can decide. It's just a matter of you deciding where you're at.
That wonderful "it depends" answer.
It depends,
and here's my other caveat to that. When you're in a stage where you don't need to make money on that property until later,
it's a rental.
Until it's paid off, you're in a good stage to make a decision to do a rental, right? Yeah. But it's all about your portfolio and your choices. All I want you to do is have a why behind your what. All I want you to do is have a reason to what you're doing.
Damn! Did you hear that, Thomas? It's like all I want you to do is have a why behind your what.
Yep.
That's a tattoo right there.
It's true, though.
Did you get a sexy picture of Grant so we can make that into
right?
a meme?
Have that'll be our Insta post.
Insta post right there.
You should check out the one I did.
Oh, Travion, he's got the trump card. Check out the one that we win.
So we can make it. Anyway.
Okay, so Aaron says a brand new area, $19,000 homes are being built, public transportation, commercial properties building, now incoming. I think that's a good gamble on speculation. Yeah.
Keyword gamble.
Right, exactly. Keyword gamble. This is it depends, and it's your decision. Here's my next quote. We aren't gamblers, we're investors, right? If you want to be a gambler, that's cool. But that's not what we're training. We're training how to invest, right? And speculation is part of an investment, but it is also a gamble. And what it sounds like, what you've said, is, hey, look, we already have public transportation being built. We already have commercial properties going up. We already have this. We already have that. Well, that's much less of a speculation than, hey, I'm going to buy this area of land because I think that in the future some things are going to be coming. If they're already being built, you know what I mean? So there you go.
And another way to look at the speculation plays is you want to make sure that you're getting the banana, you're getting the ice cream, you're getting the whipped cream, and you're getting the nuts. And like,
can we make Ryan's Insta post? You want to make sure you're getting the banana and getting the nuts?
My point being is, if you're doing a speculation play, you want to make sure you're getting like the cake and the frosting and anything in addition, like the ice cream and the whipped cream and the cherries and all that BS. That's the cherries on top. That's the gravy. That's the extra. But you want to make sure you're still getting a cake.
Yeah.
I hate you.
I love you.
No, you
Miranda, I see Grant Kemp using his mug again. You're racking up those brownie points. Heck yeah, Miranda. I love my mug. I love you.
Should we go into what the mug means?
The mug is a Propelio.
No, the other side.
Mug. It's Grant's mug. Not that Grant.
Not that Grant. Kaylee Ryan, how did you decide the cash flow amount was $150 You just chose that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I just
Arbitrary.
chose that. That's an arbitrary number. That was my number after my experience of saying, for me to put the effort into this deal, I want this deal to be making me a minimum of $150 a month in cash flow. Now, when I started, that number was much lower. I've got some deals still from my very first deals that I was making $40, $50 a month on. I mean, they're $70,000 houses, but now it's different.
And on that, it's $150 day one. 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, depending on how you structure the deal, that might go up to $600 a month.
Right, totally.
And that's a different video.
Again, that's another reason why, when I say equity, like our profit center is cash up front, cash flow, and equity. One of the things that we can break out in that, which I, just in the interest of time, did not break out, is maybe I should have put money later, right? There's today money and tomorrow money, you always hear me say. So probably a better way to phrase these equities or these profit centers is 1 is today money, 2 is cash flow, 3 is tomorrow money. Even though, anyway, whatever. What I'm getting at is sometimes your underlying lien is going to get paid off in 6 years. So you might only be making $5 or $50 a month, but in 6 years you're making $600, $700, $800. That's a reason to break that rule of thumb. Right. So absolutely arbitrary. You decide for your portfolio what's worth it to you.
Aaron Weldon, non-recourse lending because it got into our LLC. What?
So non-recourse lending means that if it gets foreclosed on, they can't go after you personally. So what does LLC stand for?
Limited liability. I was going to say something stupid, but I can't think of anything witty enough.
Company.
Right, but I was, anyway, yeah.
And thank you for defining LLC, not what I asked for, which was LLC.
Limited liability company, LLP.
Limited liability.
Partnership,
right? So that means that if something happens to an asset that's in that company, it does not go after you personally. So that's what I mean by non-recourse. Aiden Rodriguez jumped on the wholesaling train, quickly realized that one exit strategy was not ideal. How can I learn to analyze deals to explore other exit strategies? I've already connected with my local RIA. Well, first of all, good job, because networking is one of the biggest parts of anything in this business. Secondly, I encourage you, go check out creativecashflow.com. Check out what I've got to offer for you there, because again, now is the time to jump in. If you're One Education, I do a weekly Q&A where we blow through this stuff. And I've got students like Brady Durr, who never did my mentoring, but went through my online courses, did my weekly Q&As, and within this last month, he's come up with like 3 deals, sub 2.
And he's been dropping like every other comment shout outs on the YouTube. So thanks,
That's
Brady.
awesome. Thanks, Brady. And then the other thing is like Propelio Academy. Go to propelio.com/academy. We have my full sub 2 owner financing module is up there for free. Daniel teaches a great course on there on like multiple topics. We've got skip tracing on there. We've got, there's just
the reality is we have a ton more that needs to be released, but after Friday you'll come in and fix all of it with his magic.
All right, Kaylee, do you have your tenant buyers pay closing, or do you close on the house first? So acquisition closing is something that you'll have to come out of pocket for, but disposition closing gets paid for entirely by your buyer when you're doing a wraparound mortgage. That said, everything's negotiable. Everything's negotiable. This is part of the difference between advanced investors and new investors, right? I was talking to BP from the AZ Flip guys. I'm happy because I got a free AR-15 from one of my deals because I worked that in. They wanted to stay in the house as a leaseback. They didn't. I wasn't. They weren't walking away with any money. I couldn't start the rehab for 2 weeks anyway. They only wanted 1 week in there, and I saw an AR-15 in the corner, and I negotiated it. I said, okay, I'll let you stay for a week if you give me that AR. Daniel has gotten tons of stuff. I don't want to sell him out if he, but he's gotten tons of stuff from that. BP was talking about. He's got a motorcycle, a boat, a car, and
that's why sometimes we talk about the Wild Wild West and just being creative. It's like you can do whatever you want. I'll take this one. Evermark Property Management from YouTube. What help do you provide for contracts that are state specific if we join the academy? What I'll say for there is anything state specific, anything dealing with the contracts, consult an attorney. Never take legal advice, contract advice from a video on YouTube, on Facebook, on the internet. Find a valuable attorney. Go network in your local RIAs and figure out who the best real estate attorney is in your market for real estate.
And your Facebook groups, local
in your Facebook groups, and find an attorney. So on that one, I mean, I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but it's legit.
Well, and I'll give you a less cop-out answer, which is still legit, which is, and actually, by the way, anybody watching this nationally, if you go find somebody that specializes in this attorney-wise, would you tag Propelio or tag me in your local group? Like, if you find that, tag us, let us know, because we need those resources as well to put that out. But what I will say is I'm actually paying the exorbitant money to get white labeled contracts for all 50 states through the genius Mr. Matt Aycock. So Matt and myself are working together on building that out for you guys. I'm not there yet. But all of the members of my academy will have sub-2 and wraparound contracts available that are state-specific within this next 12 to 18 months as we push out more nationally.
But the key thing there is Matt Aycock is an attorney.
But Matt Aycock is an attorney, a brilliant attorney, and he will be pushing. Basically, the way we're going to do it is we'll say, hey, we're going to go into the state. He's going to go figure out all the laws in that state. He's going to plan an office in that state, train up attorneys to work the way we need them to work, and then he's going to build the contracts for us to all hand out to you guys.
Cool.
Trey, as a newer investor, what should I be doing to protect myself when doing sub-2 wraps with the new legislation being voted on? Don't worry about anything in law until it becomes law. I'll tell you that right now, because everything always gets grandfathered in. But that's a good, so the other thing is do everything in an LLC, use an attorney. Use an attorney, use an attorney, use an attorney. I really recommend Scott Horn here in Texas. Matt Aycock as well are both brilliant attorneys that can help you out here in Texas. If you know of brilliant attorneys in another state, chime in. Let us know who that is and tag them. That is a great leeway, and we'll go ahead and end up on this, which the Texas 100 guys, we need, we do have legislation in Texas right now. Legislative session is, or legislative, whatever, is in session until, legislate is in session until May. And there's some stuff being voted on that could, really damage a lot of what we're doing on, like, for instance, the sub-2 wrap could be killed. That doesn't kill sub-2, that doesn't kill the wrap, but the combination of the two could be killed. There is some stuff we need to be aware of, so I really, 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 really implore you, go to Texas 100 and join. We need you to join because we need the lobby efforts in there to protect investor interests because we are helping consumers at the end of the day. There are snakes out there. We want to legislate them out just like anybody else does, but we want to make sure that our lawmakers understand how big the hammer needs to be to hit those guys without accidentally killing some other strategies. And to do that, it's done through lobbyists. So check out texas100.org. Also, March 5th and 6th, we are all marching down to Austin for the symposium so that we can actually sit in front of the lawmakers and talk to them ourselves. And we will have our lobbyists there to coach us on what needs to be said, how this all works. So please, please, please join in on that as well. So guys, this has been a really good episode. Is there anything that you want to...
Finally. It's like, we're talking about, anyway, it's like, just talk. Don't let me in.
Sorry.
It's like, this show's great.
I forgot this was Ryan Teach Me Something.
No, I'm just saying, it's like, let me chime in. You're like, hey, let me go to the dismount. And like, it's like, I have some stuff I want to say.
What you got, baby girl?
Bye. No. I just want to give a special shout out to Aaron Weldon on Facebook. As a newbie, as somebody new in this business, it's hard to be new because you don't know what you don't know. The best advice I would give to you, and this is going to sound like a completely self-serving sort of plug, but just start watching. We have so many videos on YouTube and Facebook. Just full immerse yourself into this business. Read as many books as you can. Watch as many videos as you can. Podcasts, YouTube, go to networking events. And once you start absorbing all this, a lot of this will make more sense. So, but keep doing what you're doing. Ask those questions, watch the live videos, chime in, and more information will come out. But I just want to say welcome to the community and thank you for watching because this is your first time with us. Had a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching. As far as final thoughts for this video, for me, for deal analysis is it all comes back to just, you have to have your personal numbers. You have to have your goals and really figuring that out. And just, as always, be creative. Think outside the box. Don't be boxed into a specific strategy and really get out there. As far as what we got going on, Grant plugged us a lot. So Propelio.com. If you've never tried it, you know what? Try it. It's free. It's 7 days and go from there. Comps, leads, websites, all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
But that's all I got. What about Creative
Absolutely.
Cash Flow?
Yeah, creativecashflow.com. I think I've explained well to you guys. You know, I've got a really big stick up my rear about making sure that you get to where you want to go. And so let me help you do that. That's what we do through creativecashflow.com. So I appreciate you guys joining in, especially those of you who are new here. Don't forget to tune in next week. We do this every week, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central. We will be right here teaching you something. So thank you guys for joining in, and we will see you next week.
Bye! Hey everybody, I'm Ryan with Propelio. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Turn on those notifications and stick around for more. We have tons of content like this all over our channel. So if you want to learn more about real estate investing, stick around, watch Propelio TV, and we'll see you later.